They told me it was just a high-security prison hidden in the Alaskan tundra, but they lied. The inmates don't eat food. They feed on memory, time, and sometimes your voice. There's a door in cell block 9 that doesn't exist on any blueprint. But I saw it open once. Something inside whispered my name in my own voice. These are the rules they gave me. If I break even one, I vanish from reality, like I was never born. Asterisk, they flew me in at midnight. A map marked the location. No airport. Code. Just a nameless strip of black tarmac surrounded by pine trees frozen stiff in the unending Alaskan winter. The wind howled as if the forest itself was alive and angry. I'd taken the job because it paid more than triple my last security post, and because I didn't believe in monsters. Not YET.my boots crunched the ice as I stepped off the blacked-out chopper. Two men in gray thermals and mirrored goggles met me at the pad. They didn't speak. One handed me a duffel bag. The other motioned to a snowcat transport vehicle. There was no welcome that we rode for nearly 30 minutes across the tundra, headlights slicing through a void so dark it felt like we were driving through space. No stars, no moon, just that infinite Alaskan night. Then the facility emerged from the darkness. IT looked like a glacier had split apart and vomited up black stone. The prison was carved directly into the side of a cliff. No windows, no towers, just jagged concrete slabs and motionless floodlights. I asked the driver what the place was called. Erebus Anchorage Correctional Site, Division 9. I frowned. That sounds militarized. He looked at me sideways, his goggle lenses reflecting nothing. It's not a prison for people. Inside, I met Warden Elias Shaw. He stood 6'4", white hair slicked back, trench coat dusted with frost. His voice had the gravel of a man who had screamed once and never again. "You must be Marcus Drell," he said without shaking my hand. "Last-minute replacement. I'll keep this brief." He handed me a file folder stamped with a red triangle and the words, Division 9. Security Clearance E Alpha RA. Inside was a single sheet of yellowed paper. Typed, not printed. Scroll the rules for Division 9 night shift officers never speak to the inmates. Even if they speak to you. Especially if they use a familiar voice. At 2:17 a.m. exactly, face cell 23 and bow your head. Do not stop until the whispering ceases. If you hear the alarm labeled Theta, do not run. Do not move. Close your eyes and wait. Do not feed anything. If something begs for food or water, notify sublevel command immediately. If cell 44's door is open and you are the only one who sees it, close your eyes and walk backwards. Every Sunday at 3:33 a.m., something will knock on the east wall. Do not answer. Do not look. You are not allowed to pray on the premises. Any attempt to invoke higher powers results in termination. Do not fall asleep, even for a second, even if you are already seen walking the halls. If you see your reflection move on its own, ask it a question only you know. If it answers correctly, run. Warden Shaw watched me read. Break one rule, he said, and you'll wish you died clean in war. I stared at him, unsure whether to laugh or walk out. But I was broke. I was alone. And deep down, something in me wanted to prove I could handle whatever this place was, even if it was a living nightmare. That night, I was stationed at Sector Delta, also known as the Old Wing. My shift began at 12 a.m. sharp. No windows. No clocks. Just a buzzing hallway illuminated by flickering green lights. The cells here weren't metal. They were carved into the stone like ancient tombs, sealed with reinforced glass and doors with symbols that hurt your eyes to look at. Each cell had a nameplate, but none of them had names. Just numbers. Cell 12, Cell 19, Cell 23. The prisoners inside didn't look human. One had no eyes, just a face like melting wax that twitched as I passed. Another stood perfectly still with arms like spider legs, its jaw dislocated into a forever scream. One banged its head against the glass every 4 seconds. Precise, mechanical, as if practicing for something. And then there was Cell 23. A dark shape pressed up against the glass. I couldn't make it out clearly, but the feeling it gave off was like static in my brain. Like I was remembering a nightmare I hadn't dreamed yet. I kept moving. At 2:17 a.m., the hallway grew cold. Every light dimmed at once. I checked my watch. Exactly the time the rules mentioned. I turned towards Cell 23. Bowed my head. I heard, whispering that it was my mother's voice. Marcus. Honey, come here. It's safe now. She'd been dead for 3 years, buried in Phoenix. But that voice sounded exactly like hers. Warm, trembling, crying the way she used to when I came home with a black eye dot. I kept my head down. Then her voice changed. Lower, rougher. You're not real, Marcus. You were born dead. I just wear your face now. The whispering stopped. I exhaled shakily and stood upright. My knees were weak. I moved on. The rest of the shift passed in a haze of dread. I heard things through the walls, chanting in reverse, metallic groans, sobs that looped like broken recordings. The lights flickered constantly. The camera feeds showed footage from 2 days in the future, or so the date stamps claimed that I tried. The break room. The vending machine was filled with unmarked bags. I didn't dare eat any. At 4 a.m. I took a patrol down sub-level 3, a part of the prison only mentioned once in the manual. Even the doors here were strange, some made of bone-white stone, some bleeding rust, one covered in chains that were warm to the touch. I saw something moving in one of the cells. It looked like me, standing in the corner, head tilted, face smiling, wide with teeth too long. I stared through the glass. It smiled back, then, slowly, raised its hand and waved, in the exact rhythm I did moments later, as if I were copying it. That's when I remembered Rule 9. I shouted, what was my childhood dog's name? The thing's smile widened. You never had a dog, Marcus. Only that thing in your closet. The one you fed when no one was looking. I turned and ran. Back in the control booth, I sat shaking. Every nerve in my body buzzed like I'd been near a downed power line. I looked at the monitor. One cell door blinked red. Cell 44, unsealed. And yet when I checked the hallway cameras, the door was shut. I stood slowly and stepped outside. And there it was, open, slightly ajar. Black void inside. Only I could see it. I remembered Rule 5. I closed my eyes, turned around, began walking backward. My boots slipped slightly on the frozen floor, and I heard something breathing behind me. Not loud, not monstrous. It was slow, patient, ancient. I made it to the checkpoint. The air warmed. The door slammed shut behind me. My first shift was over, but I didn't sleep. The warden met me the next day, still breathing. Good. Most first-timers crack at Rule 2. I told him what I saw. He nodded slowly. You're lucky, he said. Cell 44 likes attention. Give it too much, and it follows you home. I looked at him hard. What the hell is this place? He stared past me, through a narrow slit in the stone wall where no light entered. This isn't a prison, he said. It's a dam, a barrier, holding back things that remember when time was still wet. Things that we made pacts with an older blood than ours. You're not guarding monsters, Marcus. You're feeding them silence. And that's how it began now. I write this down each morning after I survive. Because soon, I know, I'll break a rule. And when I do, there will be no record I ever existed. Unless you read this, and don't look at your reflection. It's smiling, and you're not. I didn't know how much sleep I'd gotten, if any. All I remember is that I woke up screaming. Sweat-soaked, heart thumping like I'd just sprinted through a war zone. I dreamt I was back in cell block Delta, standing in front of cell 23. But this time, it wasn't whispering. It was humming. A slow, eerie lullaby that made my gums bleed in the dream. And the moment I opened my eyes, I realized something was wrong. There was a mark on my arm. A small, perfect triangle etched into my flesh, reddish-black, not quite a scab, not a tattoo either. I didn't remember it from yesterday. My first instinct? Infection. My second? Something touched me while I slept. I glanced around the bunk room. I was alone. The walls looked the same, but there was a pressure in the air now, a thickness, like I was breathing through someone else's lungs. Warden Shaw met me in the security booth, same as before. Black coat, gloves, eyes like smoke. He looked me up and down and paused when he saw the marked. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't need to. Cell 44, he said. I nodded. I followed Rule 5, I said defensively. I walked backward. I didn't open my eyes. You looked too long before you turned, he replied flatly. It knows your shape now. I clenched my fists. What the hell does that mean? The warden pulled a drawer open and handed me a black strip of cloth. Put this over your mirror at home. From now on, no reflections. Not glass. Not water. Not chrome. If you see yourself move wrong, it's not you anymore. I stared at the cloth, heart sinking. This job was killing me. One rule at a time. 1:19 a.m. Theta alarm. The night started quietly. I was reassigned to sublevel Theta, the part of the facility most guards weren't even aware existed. You didn't get a key card for Theta. You were escorted, blindfolded, via a maintenance elevator behind the morgue. Why blindfolded? Because the layout changes. Daily or hourly. No one knows for sure. I stepped into the elevator with my eyes covered and the air chilled like a butcher's freezer. I heard the metallic chime of floor levels pass. Sechinke. Sub 1. Sub 2. Sub Delta. Sub Chimera. Sub Theta. The door slid open with a hiss. I removed the blindfold. The hallway was made of bone. Not painted to look like bone. Actual bone. Fused skulls in the walls. Ribcage arches. Vertebrae columns holding up the ceiling. And the floor? Charred stone. Still warm under my boots. It looked less like a prison and more like the inside of a cathedral built by something that worshipped pain. I nearly gagged when I stepped through the checkpoint. Everything smelled like burned teeth. There was no posted security here. No automated guns. No cameras. Just one thing, a glass window. Thick. Reinforced. Looking into a chamber of absolute darkness. You know when people say a room is pitch black? This wasn't like that. This was anti-light. Looking into it made my eyes itch. My brain told me it wasn't empty, but my vision couldn't comprehend what was inside. And that's when the Theta alarm went off. Warning: Theta protocol engaged. Do not move. Do not breathe. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. I froze. Every light turned red. The intercom screamed static. Then a voice, my voice, hissed through. Still breathing, Marcus? I closed my eyes. Everything went quiet. Then, footsteps. Heavy, wet, deliberate. Something moved into the hallway with me. I heard it dragging something. Or maybe it was dragging itself. The air thickened like molasses. My chest tightened. It stopped in front of me. I heard breathing. Then, a tongue ran across my cheek. It was cold. Wet. Thin as paper. I bit my lip to keep from reacting. Blood filled my mouth. The thing leaned in and whispered, "If you open your eyes, I'll wear your skin and finish your shift for you. No one will notice. Not even your bones." I nearly collapsed. Then the lights flickered back to green. I opened my eyes. The hallway was empty, but a bloody handprint was on the inside of the observation window now, pressed from within the black chamber, and my name was written in red beneath. It. 2:00 a.m. The singing prisoner sublevel Theta holds only one inmate. They don't tell us its name. They call it the architect. Its cell is in a circular chamber built of shifting metal that hums and warps as you stare. You can only approach the viewing platform for 60 seconds at a time, or your perception of time detaches from the facility clock. As I approached, I heard it. A low, melodic chant. It wasn't in English, or Latin, or any language that belonged to our species, but I understood it. I made the first key from a man's spine. I made the second from a liar's soul. The third, I haven't built yet. But you'll do, Marcus. You'll do fine. I backed away. Something watched me from the wall. A shadow in the shape of me. But smiling. 3:33 a.m. The East Wally made it back to my station in the command room of sublevel Theta. 1 old terminal. One switchboard. One antique desk phone that only rings when something terribly wrong has happened. And then, the knocking started. 1, 2, 3. I froze. Rule 6. Every Sunday at 3:33 a.m., something will knock on the east wall. Do not answer. Do not look. The knocking got louder. 1, 2, 3. I held my breath. Then it spoke. "I'm freezing, Marcus. Let me in. I've got your mother's eyes. I brought them back. Still fresh." I closed my eyes, covered my ears, but it kept knocking. Harder. Faster. Louder. The walls began to bleed. My ears rang. The temperature dropped so fast the condensation on my breath turned to tiny shards of glass. I wanted to scream. Then, silence. Just as quickly as it started, it ended. The wall dried. The air returned to normal. The clock struck 3:34, and the antique desk phone rang. 4:00 a.m. The Callie answered it with a trembling hand. The voice on the other end was not human. It sounded like a choir whispering in reverse, layered over with static and screaming. I couldn't understand the words, but my nose started to bleed as it spoke. Then a single, clear sentence broke through. The architect has dreamed of you. The locks are melting. Prepare your body. Then it hung up. The power surged. Lights exploded. Monitors went dark. Something moved in the hallway outside. I pulled my sidearm. Standard issue Division 9 weapon. Non-lethal electromagnetic burst pistol. And stepped out. The hallway was empty, but the lights were dripping. Not flickering, dripping. Like liquid neon. The walls pulsed. And then, at the far end of the corridor, stood me. But it wasn't a reflection this time. It walked like me. Wore my uniform. Had my wounds. But its mouth was sewn shut, and its eyes were missing. It raised its hand and pointed at me, and the hallway exploded in static. 5:12 a.m. System reboot. I woke up lying in the medical wing. Dr. Katia Bell, the only on-site medic, hovered over me. She had cybernetic eyes, always scanning. Her voice was cold but professional. "You're lucky," she said. "You flatlined for 73 seconds. Whatever that thing was, it overloaded your neural lattice. Most don't come back after theta contact." I sat up, but my mouth was dry. "What did it want?" She glanced at the monitor. "It wanted you. Your pattern. Your voice. Maybe your face. We think it's building something down there. A copy." My stomach turned. I looked at my reflection in the metal tray next to me. It blinked, and I didn't. I shoved the tray off the table and demanded a mirror band. 6:00 a.m. End of shift. I stumbled out of the theta elevator. Warden Shaw waited. Hands folded. "You survived the night," he said. "Good. Most don't." He handed me a new list of updated rules. Some were the same. Some were new. Rule 10. If your double starts talking, don't answer. That gives it voice rights. Rule 11. Never follow music, especially if it's a lullaby. Rule 12. If the architect stops singing, evacuate. There's no containment after that. I looked at the list. "You think I'll make it through another night?" Shaw looked at me grimly. "You already didn't. There's something they don't tell you about working nights at Division 9, that it's not the monsters. It's not the rules. It's not even the risk of death. It's the way reality starts to come undone around you. Things don't stay where you left them. Memories begin to overlap. One moment you're clocking in, and the next you're watching yourself clock out, staring through the security monitor in reverse, wondering when you became the footage. Since Theta, I hadn't been the same. The mark on my arm had grown. Not wider, deeper. It now pulsed faintly, beneath my skin like a heartbeat in reverse. My reflection had stopped mimicking me. And worst of all, the architect had stopped singing. 00:00 a.m. Briefing room echoes. Warden Shaw didn't meet me this time. Instead, a woman named Agent Delaney Weiss took his place. She wasn't Division 9. She wore a patch I hadn't seen before. Just a black circle stitched on her coat. No name, no rank. Only her eyes gave her away. They were bloodshot but smiling, like she hadn't slept in months and didn't care anymore. "Welcome back, Officer Drell," she said as the lights dimmed around us. She placed a steel case on the table between us and unlocked it. Inside were 3 items: a pair of bone-handled scissors, a cassette tape labeled "Do Not Listen Unless It Begins," and a folded sheet of paper with one line written in blood. "The third key requires a willing architect." I swallowed hard. "What does that mean?" Delaney smiled. "Wider. It means the architect has chosen you. Congratulations." 1 a.m. The keyhole incident. Sublevel Theta's containment door had been sealed since the previous night. That had never happened before. Even when the power cut out, there were fail-safes. But tonight, everything had been manually locked. I was ordered to inspect Sector E, a hallway not listed in the original blueprint. It appeared during my second shift, carved directly into the north bone wall. The air was colder here. Time didn't feel linear. I walked for what felt like minutes, then hours, then seconds. The walls shimmered with etched script that bled when I stared too long. At the far end, I found a door without a handle, just a single keyhole, oozing black vapor. A whisper leaked through. "Come closer, Marcus. The third key is inside you. We only need to cut it out." I backed away slowly. That's when the wall behind me breathed. Not a metaphor. It expanded, like lungs inhaling. Warm, wet, rhythmic. Then it exhaled, and the hallway was gone. I stood alone in cell block null. 01:47 a.m. Null manifestation. Cell block null isn't real. At least, that's what every guard is told. It doesn't exist. on any map. No cameras. No checkpoints. It's where Division 9 stores inconsistencies, inmates that break the concept of existence. There were 7 cells, each marked with a letter instead of a number. Duh. A man who only exists when you aren't looking. B. A child who ages backwards but remembers everything forward. C. A woman made of mirrors. D. Empty but always screaming. E. A coffin filled with teeth. F. Something that bleeds ideas. G. Me. Yes. Me. I stared into cell G and saw myself pacing, hands shaking, eyes wild. It was wearing my uniform, my badge, my wounds. Then it turned toward me and grinned and whispered, "You're the copy, Marcus. You're the third key." 2:13 a.m. Scissors Agent Vice met me in the Hall of Echoes, where sound doesn't reflect back. She handed me the bone scissors. "You have a choice," she said. "Cut out the key, or the architect will do it for you. And he doesn't use anesthesia." I stared at her. "You're insane." "No, I'm already dead," she replied, tearing open her coat to reveal a chest that was hollowed out, filled with static and whispers that I backed away, horrified. She reached into her own chest cavity, pulled out a spinal cord that was not hers, and offered it to me. "Here's your future," she said, "or your past. Time bleeds here." I ran. 02:44 a.m. The mirror room rule 9 returned with vengeance. The hallway back to the command post had been replaced with a room of mirrors. Dozens of them. Some cracked, some fogged, all showing different versions of me. In one, I was screaming. In another, I was smiling and covered in blood. In one, I was missing the real horror. One of the reflections blinked, and I didn't. It waved. I turned to run. But I was already inside. Every mirror around me began to speak. "Let us out. Let us out. Let us out. Let us out. We're you." The scissors were in my hand. I don't remember picking them up. I don't remember cutting. But I do remember the sound, wet, soft, like meat tearing. And then something dropped from my chest onto the floor. A key. 03:33 a.m. The east wall returns. The knocking returned. But this time, the wall didn't bleed. It opened. Behind it was not a hallway. It was Alaska, or the memory of it. Trees, snow, my childhood home, my mother standing on the porch, crying. She looked up at me and said, "You were never born, Marcus. You were carved." The architect stepped out behind her. A man-shaped thing, tall and robed in chains made of bones. Its face was constantly shifting. Father, mother, self, stranger. It reached for me. "You have the third key," it rasped. "Unlock the door of forever." I turned and ran. But I never moved. 04:04 a.m. The door of forever, they say it exists between sublevel Theta and the staff lounge. Only opens once. Only to the key holder. I stood before it, chest still leaking shadow, scissors gone. Tape humming in my hand. I put the key into the lock, and the door opened inward. There was no room, just infinity screaming, shapes folding over each other. Eyes with no pupils, smiles too wide, a black sun, and a throne made of duplicated lives. And on the throne, me, not a clone, not a reflection, the original. And I finally understood I was the third key all along. I'd never been born. I was constructed, copied, inserted into this job. And now, my purpose was complete. The architect knelt beside me. "You've done well," he said. "Now sit and dream of the fourth key." 6 a.m. Shift ended. Warden Shaw met me at the elevator. He looked older. His hands trembled. His coat was soaked in snow. "You saw it, didn't you?" he asked. I couldn't speak. He sighed. "Most don't come back." "Not really. If you're still in there, Drell, you've got one more shift left." I nodded, slowly. But as I stared at him, his face changed, just slightly. And I knew. He wasn't the warden anymore. This is Marcus Drell, or what's left of him. If you're hearing this, I didn't make it out. Don't trust anyone, especially yourself, especially mirrors. And whatever you do, burn this place to the ground before it finds the fourth key. Midnight. Final shift begins. By the time I returned to the checkpoint, I didn't know how many shifts I'd worked. Days didn't pass here. They looped. My reflections still didn't follow me. Shadows gathered where they shouldn't. And sometimes, when I blinked, I could see myself from behind, as if my mind was skipping frames in the wrong direction. Warden Shaw, or the thing that wore his skin, handed me my final clearance. Access. Sublevel Omega. Omega. We found the fourth key, he said. And we're going to need your help stopping it. I looked at him hard. But I am the third key. He didn't blink. We know. 00:33 a.m. The Omega stairs. There's no elevator to sublevel Omega. You have to walk down 1,000 obsidian stairs, each one colder than the last. No handrail. No lights. Just the sound of your own boots and whispers that don't stop at AT step 333. I heard my own voice whisper, "You're almost home." At step 666, I heard my father's voice, even though he died in a fire when I was 8. "You're not real, Marcus. You never were. You're a placeholder, an idea that thought too long about itself and started to rot." By step 1000, I couldn't remember what I looked like. Only that something else now wore my name. 01:00 a.m. The Forbidden Cell sublevel Omega wasn't a hallway, it was a temple. The walls were slick with ink that moved on its own, forming ancient symbols older than language. The floors were bone. The ceiling was gone, replaced by an endless eye that blinked only when you stared directly at it. I in the center of the chamber, a cell made of teeth, and inside that cell, a girl that no older than 6 pale. Hair like static, eyes like holes in the world. She turned her head slowly when I approached, smiled, and said, "You brought the other keys." I froze. She held out her hand. 3 objects floated in front of her. The bone scissors, the cassette tape, the spinal cord key. "You only need one more," she said. "And then the door opens. And then the sky dies. Won't that be fun?" 1:23 a.m. The tape begins to play. I didn't press play. It just started. The cassette in my pocket turned hot, then melted into my uniform, oozing out through my sleeve and solidifying into an antique player, still turning on its own. A voice came through. It was mine, but older, tired, hollow. "To whoever finds this," I tried. "God help me, I tried. But the fourth key isn't a thing. It's not even a person. It's a decision. A moment. Once you think it, once you consider it real, it's too late. It copies you, becomes you, replaces you. The door will open, not with a key, but with a memory. And you're remembering it now, aren't you?" The tape burst into flames, and I screamed, but not out loud. Inward. 02:00 a.m. The living door. It was breathing. Yes, the door. A massive slab of flesh stone, pulsing like a heart, covered in etchings that bled when I got too close. 4 indentations had formed. 3 were filled. 1 was empty. The girl in the cell tilted her head and whispered, "The fourth key is inside you. It always was. You just needed to realize it." I looked down. There was something in my chest, moving. 02:15 a.m. Autopsy while alive. There are no surgical rooms in Omega.So. I did what I had to do. I used the bone scissors. I held my breath. I cut, not across flesh, but across thought. My mind twisted, and suddenly I was outside myself, watching as I peeled something bright and red from my own chest. It looked like a fetus. Or a question. Or a screamed. It pulsed with memory. I held it up. The door gasped open. 02:33 a.m. What was behind the door? You want to know what's back there? I'll tell you. It's you. Thousands of you. All standing in rows, some missing eyes, some on fire, some repeating the same sentence over and over. It was just a job, just a night shift, just one more check-in. They looked at me with hatred, with hunger, with recognition. And in the very center of that impossible room stood a throne of monitors, each showing a moment from my life I never lived. My wedding, my suicide, my birth, my execution, and on the throne, the architect. Only now it had my face. It stood. It smiled. "We made you to open the door. And now that it's open, you stay." 3 a.m. The exchange. They never planned to let me go. That's how Division 9 works. You think you're guarding them? They're guarding you. They keep you inside until the thing you were meant to become takes your place. The architect pointed at me, and the ground became water, ice, teeth, memory. "The fourth key is not an object," it said. "It's a decision to end the cycle. Are you brave enough to disappear?" I screamed, and every version of me screamed back. 03:33 a.m. The sky died. The door opened, but not forward. Up. The ceiling peeled back. The eye blinked one final time, and the sky collapsed inward. like an old lung giving up its last breath. We all floated, versions of me, the architect, the girl, Agent Vice, even Warden Shaw, who'd long since become something not Shaw. We floated into the darkness until the world turned inside out, and only the keys remained. 04:00 a.m. The last rule. I awoke in the snow. Outside the facility, no buildings, no trees, no people, just frost, ice, and a mirror buried in the ground, written in blood across its surface. Rule 13. If you escape, don't look back. Rule 14. If you look back, you never left. Rule 15. The door never really closed. I looked anyway and saw Division 9, still standing, still waiting, still whispering, still hungry. Final log entry, 6 a.m. This is Marcus Drell. Or maybe I was. The facility doesn't just contain monsters, it creates them. If you're listening, ***, burn the rules. Burn the keys. Burn me if you find me. And whatever happens, ***, don't take the job. Because if you do, the architect will be waiting.